Thank you, Karen, for the presentation. Thank you, Wendy, for the opportunity of being here, talking to you. And I confess that I was a bit confused with these different accents, these Australian accents, but I think I got used to it now and understood that I can start, right? So I will share my screen. So as per, I think that the best was to talk about the latest advancements that I got. What means that what I will be presenting are results of only 2-3 months later. So it is all very recent. And nobody saw all these because it was not published yet, okay? Oh, I think that only few persons know that in the years 1990s, there happened some phone calls from the other side to our side. It was addressed by Dr. Konstantin Raudiv, that Karen just mentioned, to some persons in the United States, for instance, such as George Meek, Mark Macy, Sarah Stepp. She was a pioneer in US of ITC, and to me in South America. And when I say that it was a phone call, believe me, it was real a phone call. That is, the phone would ring and we could pick up the phone and talk and listen fluently and speak fluently, as I will show to you one phone call. And then we will talk about it. So it was always Dr. Raudiv that was making these calls, phone calls to Earth. And he was one pioneer of instrumental transcommunication. By his time, he is said to have gotten 70,000 audio samples. So he recorded a lot. He had great experience. And he wrote a book called The Breakthrough that came with a tape recorder with samples of his that he got. So he had a huge work when he was here, right? When he died, some years later, he was announced to be in a station, and from there, he was contacting us. By that time, I had heard that some colleagues had got some phone calls, mainly from Sarah Stepp. She was a very nice friend of mine, but I didn't expect that I would get a phone call from Raudiv. So when it first happened, I wasn't prepared to record because it was a surprise, right? So this first phone call happened on February 1994. But immediately in the following day, I went to a shop and bought a tape recorder that could be connected to the telephone device so that I could record in case they come again. So here I show you, obviously that nowadays we record it differently, but that time I had this tape recorder that was me and connected to the telephone. And indeed, more or less 2 months after the first, I received the phone call from Raudiv. And this is a tape recorder used by that time. And this phone call was half in English and half in Portuguese, because as they explained, by the time that station was not so big, obviously it enlarged later and split it into other stations, but by that time it was just one, and they have sections, and the one section was for Brazilians, Portuguese, and people from Angola. So it was speaking Portuguese. And so half of the conversation will be in Portuguese, but obviously I translated it for you, okay? Now I'll play the phone call for you. And I also added the text. I hope that you can follow. Let's see.
Good morning, Mr. Rinaldi. I'm very well, Mr. Rinaldi, and very glad. Thanks for your call.
Are you registering the message?
Yes, I see. It is registering.
Is it possible to register this message?
Okay, the sequence.
Yes, thanks. I'm registering it.
Good. I will give the microphone now to Carlos. Give him the microphone, you can understand me.
I'm sorry, could you kindly repeat what should I do with the microphone?
I give the microphone to Carlos the operator.
Okay, thanks.
I didn't understand, right? It was a mess, my God. So now it is the part in Portuguese, and we have the translation. Okay?
Os nossos amigos do Brasil, cara amiga Sonia Rinaldi, este é o segundo contacto. O contacto que nós enviamos ao teu país da parte da estação do Rio do Tempo. Nós vos agradecemos muito pelos vossos esforços em 6 de fevereiro. Nós escutamos, mas não podemos. O tempo não é uma linha, mas sim um círculo. O horizonte mais longe de vocês não acaba no mundo, mas entra num universo sagrado. Os necessários são visíveis, mas o mais importante ficam invisíveis para vocês. O mundo, tal como vocês o veem, é um prolongamento do que nós temos aqui e tudo forma juntos o universo. Um abraço especial ao Dr. Hernani Andrade, que compreende todas estas coisas. E que tudo isto hoje, uma ajuda para a vida, juntos com a Transcomunicação instrumental. Estação Rio do Tempo, Carlos Almeida e o Padre Lambel de Moura, mandam um grande abraço a todos. Boa sorte, Sonia, para a apresentação diante dos médicos, tu serás ajudada.
So, as you see, it was a real phone call as we could make from Earth. What was obviously very surprising for everybody by that time, right? And obviously from that date on, I think that was in my mind why this didn't happen again. Why only that time and only some 6 or 80 persons received those phone calls? And I was so in doubt if this was real after all, because I thought maybe someone was joking with the experimentators and create out this situation. And so for many years, for more than 20 years, I never showed this phone call to anyone because I wasn't sure myself if they were real or not, right? It makes part of my skeptical side, right? So some 24 years after this phone call, once I received an invitation from Wendy to participate of a seance of materialization. This seance happened in September 2018. And as Karen told you, Dr. Rinaldi materialized there to speak to me. I remember that I had at my right side Victor Zamet, thank God, and at my right side. And my left side was Sherry Perel, also transcommunicator. And both were helping me with English because sometimes I couldn't understand what Dr. Rinaldi was saying. But what I wanted to show you is this specific part with our play now, when precisely I ask about why the telephone calls didn't happen again. So let's listen his explanation.
Can I make another question? Long ago, you made some phone calls to Earth, and including to me, but this didn't happen anymore. Why is it? If it was possible for you to make a phone call, say, years ago, why it didn't happen again?
Because the vibration of the fabric of the physical world prevents this from happening.
So here I got, thanks to Wendy's invitation, two information. First, he confirmed that he made the phone calls because he said that, yes, he made it. And also he explained why the phone calls or such wonderful connections didn't happen again. As he said, because of the vibration of the fabric of the physical world that prevents these to happen. This obviously was a tip for us as well. So let's imagine then that we have surrounding Earth, we have something like a shield, which he called the fabric around the world. So this fabric, I understand, that is of the vibration, as he said, that could be due to internet, Bluetooth, GPS, TV waves, radio waves, all sorts of waves, connections to satellites, and all these around Earth, I think that made it complicated for them to contact us, at least so marvelously as with the phone calls. But then we can think that they had a solution, which could be the communication through light. Instead of crossing this fabric, as he said, if they could use the light instead of ordinary vibration and use the wormholes that our physics is still running behind, they could transfer the files straight from their space to ours, right? And this is what I perceived that is happening. And that is why sometimes we get such impressive images, mainly because image is already the modulation of light. So it is much easier for them to work with images than with sound, with the voices. I have been noticing these for many years. So that is the idea. If they could use light instead of ordinary waves, mainly sound waves. So I decided that maybe we could help them in this topic. And then I remembered that Landel de Moura, that was just mentioned by the Portuguese guy in that phone call. He mentioned that Dr. Landel de Moura, he was a father, he was a priest, was sending an embrace, he said in the phone call, right? And Dr. Landel de Moura, when he was alive, he was contemporary of Tesla, of Thomas Edison, and all those guys. It is something like 120 years ago, right? And he was a genius. It is said that he invented the radio 4 years before Marconi, even that the Italian guy was the one known as the discovery of the radio. But 4 years before, Father Landel had already invented something similar, right? And he used, imagine it, light for his device. Obviously, it was absolutely primitive, but he was maybe one of the first to think of using light to carry the sound, okay? So I went behind his idea, since he's in the station now. And then we created what we call the Light Bridge project, version 1. And what was that? It was composed by 2 small devices, as you can see here at left, with 1 transmitter and 1 receptor. In one, there will be a LED. Then the voice will come from the computer and pass through this little device, and the LED, or the light, will carry until the other point here, will carry the sound, and this receptor will convert the sound waves in, the light into sound waves back. So that my idea is that while sound became light, the other side could modulate it and insert replies. And in my idea, if they succeed in doing this, the results would be better than usual, okay? So here you have it opened. You see that it is a very small and very simple project. We tested the first version and it worked very well, by the way. So we thought of bettering it. So just a summary here. We have 2 PCs. One will play the sound source. From here, it will go to the little device. It will go to the little device. Here, it will convert the sound source into light, and then will be received in this receiver that will convert the light back to sound and will go into the computer back, so that we have the replies, the paranormal replies that crossed the light bridge. That is why the project is called Light Bridge. So that supposedly the voices will be cleaner than usual. As in practice, we have here one of the times that I used it. Here is the transmitter and here is the receptor. So that from the PC, I'll put a sound source out, and then it will go through the device that will be conducted by the light to the receptor, and here it will return to be voice back again, and then it will be inserted in the second computer, so that at the moment that the sound makes this track, in a certain moment will be converted into light, it was the chance for the other side to use it and make it better, the sound, and maybe to enlarge the replies, right? As we succeed with our first attempt, I asked an engineer, Thales, to develop and better the device, okay? And you see that now it got much better and much more complicated as well. And instead of using 1 LED, he used 4 different LEDs for us to test and so on. So with this second version, we also tested, and I will show you how the voice can sound after becoming light and returning back to sound. In this, as we tested with the South Station, which speaks Portuguese, so I just brought 2 examples because it was in Portuguese, but it is easy for you to perceive. So I was speaking to Dr. Rinaldi, and he said, testing etapa. This means test step by step. That is test slowly, for us not to hurry, right? For us to test step by step. So here we can play Notes that he'll say, teste em etapa. Oh, sorry.
Teste em etapa. Teste em etapa.
Clean, right? And
Teste em etapa.
I have the other sample that I brought, which says, escuta a irmã. In Portuguese, means, this is Dr. Landau's voice saying, I listen to sister. They call me sister, okay? So he says, escuta a irmã. Escuta a irmã. Okay. So that was what I had of news about audios, mainly to inform you that we are changing the way that we are recording, and that I think that it is promising, and I think that with this new system we can achieve better communication by voice, since we will be using light, okay? Because light was the specialty of our spirit friends. So I will show you some transimages that were shaped over vapor, okay? I have been publishing lots of them. And also I mentioned it in one of our e-magazines that I created. Sometimes I have these crazy ideas, and I created this device, let's call, that I call it the vapor shower, so that the vapor comes from up. And it was obviously very funny because I used something from my kitchen, such as a coffee pot, plastic pot, and used straws, and I made it a shower so that the vapor comes from up to down, right? And here you have one of the results, right? You observe that they are incredible in manipulating light, because these can is a connection straight to us. It doesn't cross the space, doesn't have to cross the fabric of the world. Let me show you some other examples. This is another picture that was shaped in the vapor, right? So the vapor, in truth, is something like a conductive a material for them, so that they can shape. And this appears as the result is in our computer. So in truth, in the vapor, in my room, it's not happening anything, right? This is just the vapor. But in their station, they are converting that vapor into images. And so they insert back in my computer. Here, another example. Observe that this is, let's say, a lady, and we can observe the neck and some cloth, perhaps, here down. And observe that there is some color in her eyes, teeth, maybe. But remember, this is vapor. So their capacity is absolutely amazing. This is another example. Observe that it looks as having volume. It looks like a 3D image. And all these colors are because I use the lights down here. Here we have a dog. And this is, I think that in this case, they separated the colors themselves. These were not the colors that I was using in my room. And I think that this image is so amazing. And so I called it myself, the Man of Rembrandt. Rembrandt was the famous painter, right? And I said that this is the man eating a sherry, because it looks like he has a fruit or something in his hand. But people, this is vapor. So it's absolutely amazing, the capacity of our spirited friends of shaping and distribute the color and have the impression of deepness. So it is a huge technology. And they go always further and further. Observe that this is also vapor. And in this, they created not an image, but a scene. So they made, let's say, a girl that is an unknown, but I think she is good enough that could be recognized if someone recognizes, knows this girl. And she is holding 2 puppies in her hands as showing 2 little dogs. So it is a complete scene created over the vapor. I think that the day that our science discover all these, they will be speechless because there is no how to explain this, right? Now I will show you another type of communication, also recent, which are transfigurations and apparitions. And obviously, let us define the difference between transfigurations and apparitions. It is like this. I got 2 examples for you to understand which is the difference. Apparition is when an image comes from the other side, let's say, straight through a wormhole, and they don't use anything from our side. It is not manipulated over light or vapor or a cloth or a paper, anything that I have in my side, right? So it is something that comes straight from them. It is an apparition. So it is something as it was known in the past as the apport. Apport in French means something that are apported. I don't know if there is this word in English, but it is something like that it jumps in our side. And I had the opportunity to see an apport of material things. I think that possibly Wendy that also saw many materialization seance from David Thompson possibly also saw, because this happens in materialization seances. But in our case, observe that my impression is that they are apporting, if there is this word, a digital data file. So this boy with red hair, it is something like a photo that they dispatched straight to my wall. This was projected in my wall, and I was seeing it, and I was looking behind me to see, well, where is this coming from? And it was coming from absolutely nowhere. And there was nothing that they could use in my room to create this image. Okay, so this is an apparition. Now, that is different from transfiguration. Transfiguration is when one person or one photo or anything or one light becomes another thing. And I have this good example and that I recorded in, I think it was in Orlando, in US. I was recording Brandon from New York, and he, in front of the camera, was transfigured into this blonde and red-haired girl. Okay, so you see that one was Brandon, and he, in front of the camera, changed it into the girls. Okay, so it is very different, the apparitions and the transfigurations. Now, as I have always to have my crazy ideas, and usually in truth they are intuition. So that is why they work, because it is not exactly my ideas, right? So I thought of the following, so that people, and mainly our patrons, could participate of my experiments together with me. I thought of the following. I would ask a mother or anyone who lost someone to hold a photo of the loved one in front of the webcam to me, and I would record. So something like this, I made this design for you. Let's say that the mother is holding the photo in front of the camera, the webcam, and that would be transmitted through Zoom, right? We would make a connection through Zoom, and that photo would come to my computer, right? And the idea was to verify if the other side could manipulate, could create, recreate over the photo that we were showing, right? So let's see if they can do that, right? So I have here an example of Lisa, and I know that she is watching us somewhere. She is my right arm in US and in abroad. She has been helping me, and I think that I met Lisa for some 4 or 5 years. In US, okay? So here we, and I say that Lisa is my guinea pig, because whenever I have some idea and I have to test, I don't want to, you know, to make a shame with someone that I don't know too much. So I ask Lisa to do the things for me. And then obviously we can correct all the mistakes that we make in our tests, because it is just, you know, something like a preview. So here we have Lisa holding Amber's photo. Lisa lost her daughter, Amber, at the age of 25 years old. And here is Amber. And see this. That was the photo, right? That she was holding. And look how Amber appeared in the transimage, as with the lips closed, as sending a kiss to her mother. So this, I think, is a nice example of a transfiguration, because the photo was manipulated to bring another Amber sending a kiss to her mother, right? And if you think how technically this can happen, it is obviously a very sophisticated technology, right? In another moment, in the same recording, Lisa was still holding Amber's photo, and she appeared as a little child, right? And then Lisa sent me this photo of Amber when she was a child for comparison, and we see that indeed it is similar to her. And this is another capacity that our spirit friends have. They apparently can reach the past of the lives of the loved ones. And in other recordings, Amber already appeared in many different ages. In spite of that she passed with 25, she appeared already with 12 years old, 10, 6, and everything. So, and obviously she appears in photos, in transimages, that obviously Lisa doesn't have at home, right? For instance, this one in here in the middle of the screen, obviously that Lisa have never seen. So it is Amber coming from the other side, right? The image is coming from there. It's something something new. Nobody has. This is another case. This is Rosanna. She lost her mother, Mrs. Linda, and the same thing. I also asked Rosanna to hold the photo of her mother in front of the webcam, and while we would give the opportunity for the other side to change the photo's face, right? And see if it would work. So here is the photo, and observe how she became. And obviously, she's now so younger in this photo that Rosanna obviously never saw her mother so young. Still from Rosanna, her mother appeared in other positions with other hairs and laughing. And that was absolutely shocking for Rosanna, because she said, that is my mother. And it is completely different from the photo that we had. So this is transfiguration, right? So this, let's say, it is something like they send scenes of the past of the loved one, they send it to our computer. And obviously, there appeared many loved ones in this recording for Rosanna, including her grandma and her brother. A lot of persons appeared. Sometimes over the same photo appeared someone completely different. Here is Jennifer. Jennifer is a medium, a very wonderful medium from Seattle. And she lost her brother, Billy. And the same thing, I asked Jennifer to hold Billy's photo in front of her camera. And observe the quality of these images. Here is the photo below. And observe that he is younger in this photo. But it is such a beautiful photo that it seems that it is something taken on Earth. But obviously, Jennifer never saw these photos. Here, another moment of the same recording. And this is also an opportunity for the apparitions of nouns, which is some strong point of our work, because many times, for instance, this boy at right, we have no idea who he is. He appeared instead of Billy's photo, right? But we don't know who he is. And so when we spread in our magazines that I call, many times mothers comes with the information and photos for comparison, saying, oh, but this is my son and this is my daughter. So this is the opportunity for the other side also to bring the unknowns, as we call. And to end the presentation, I will show you a phenomenon that happened some 10 days ago. And it took me some time to try to understand what was that. I couldn't understand myself. So in this case, I had my friend from South Korea, Ji-hye, holding her husband's photo. So you see her at our right, holding the photo, okay? Then we go. And in this case, there happened, well, many things, including apparitions. This girl, or I don't know what, here, this is Jihei, okay, her face. And aside her, there appeared many different faces. And it is impressive how technically they can position the photo so carefully aside the face. Which the technology is that? I keep questioning, because they are not here. How can they know perfectly where Jihei was? Remember that she was in South Korea and I was in Brazil. So they have to manage all these data, right? By the way, let me just tell something that I reminded now that happened with Karen. Once I made a Zoom communication with Karen and in Australia, and it was something phenomenal because they materialized something over her, in front of her, and I was thinking, I never knew Karen's address. How the other side knew where she was? How could they, reach perfectly Karen's room and make that materialization things? So it is incredible how they have this control of, geographic control, let's say, okay? And in this case of Jihei returning, there are some moments that light seems to be something dense enough for them to shape. So they also shape light, okay? So you have Jihei here, and you see that there is something like a track of light coming in her direction. And here you have the impression that this is solid, but it is just light. Now was the very special phenomenon that took me some time to try to understand what happened. Observe with me. Jihei is here, and this is her hand, and she was just holding the photo of her husband because she had two photos, and she was turning it so to show the second photo, okay? So it was just in the movement of changing the position of the photo, and in these milliseconds, this incredible head floating in the air, dense enough to cover her face, appeared in the middle of the screen. And observe the quality here, and that it is so dense that can cover Jihei's face. And I think this is absolutely, this is new. It was a new phenomenon. Observe in other frames, observe that the face remains for some seconds, and all the time you observe that it is covering Jihei's face while she was holding the photo to move it, to turn it to the second photo of the husband. Observe the quality. You can, if you pay strong attention, we will see that it has eyelashes. You see, it is in here, you can perceive that it is somewhat gray or green, the eye, and this, there was nothing. And this, let's say, happened in South Korea, right? It was not in here with me because it was in front of Jihei, right? Observe still that this image make a certain movement in front of Jihei, and she starts as a Western girl, and later she becomes an Eastern person. The same head changes into another. Okay, observe that, and Jehei says that these traces are from Koreans, not other Asian people around, like Japanese or Chinese. No, she said that these are typically Korean. And another observation that I made in this recording, which is very recent, as I told you, observe that in the beginning, the girl, let's call it this way, was in front of Jehei and covering part of her face. But at the end, she becomes either a man or an ET. For me, this is an ET because I'm very used to them, right? So it looks like a male image. And now observe that he is behind Jehei's face. So how all this was managed, I have no idea, right? And for finishing, I brought this video. Obviously, that I had to freeze some frames for you to see, otherwise it is very, very quick, because the capacity of the creation of the images from the other side is not according to our brain capacity of interpreting. So it is extremely fast, we don't see. So I had to freeze some frames, okay? So this was one photo, as I told you, and then she drops it, she bends it for showing the second photo that you see at the end of the video. And at this precise moment that she bends, appears the face, okay? Let's see. Look at the formation, it's the start of forming. Notice that it is floating in the air. It is over Jehei. She's moving the photo. Now, the girl is becoming Asiatic. And now she became the man, or DT, I think it is an ET. And then back to a girl. And now she is moving, and finally she brings the other photo in front of the camera. So I think that this phenomenon was so marvelous that I had to show to you in first hand. And this is just our institute, which is here, as you see. And this is my link, if anyone doesn't know it yet and would like to follow our research and talk to us there, you can contact me there. And either me or Lisa will be pleased to talk to you.